So that was Trinkle Tinkle with Thelonious Monk and John Coltrane.
One of my favorites. That's just amazing.
Yeah, it leaves you speechless. A couple things that I think about when I hear that is one thing is about musicians and composers playing other people's music, and Coltrane obviously coming up through these bands with Miles and all that. I think sometimes certain musicians don't get enough credit when they can play other people's music, because there's a lot of great musicians who can't play other people's music, and
Yeah. People don't have any problem in classical music giving it up for the violinist who's really great at playing Beethoven, right? But
yeah.
in jazz, it doesn't really always work out that way.
Yeah, and so to hear Coltrane, I guess all those months of practice and working with Thelonious paying off. I mean, he just so absorbs the monk concept somehow. It's just
I think in '57, Train is now that he's sober, he's really putting on a clinic of how to play bebop double up vocabulary. This is like what he's playing 16th notes, and when he's playing the glissandi, and then he's cramming too. They called it cramming, where you cram as many notes as you can into each beat. Now, Monk's got his band playing that very spare doom 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 doom. Yeah, bang bang bang. There's the quarter note train. Go to work. So transcribing it, actually, believe it or not, transcribing 57 Train is relatively easy, because I slow it down and I loop 2 beats or loop a measure and I slow it down to half speed. It's very easy. Da ba da ba da ba da ba da ba da ba dee. It's not hard at all. It's later on it becomes sonically difficult, but the cramming that he does sometimes, he's just cramming as many notes as he can into a single beat. They used to call it cramming. I think that's a funny term. And Train's already doing all the hip treatments on the minor chords. He's already playing melodic minor, or he's playing, let's say the opening chord is a B flat minor 7. He already plays not just B flat melodic minor, but he plays F whole tone. So you go to the 5 and you play whole tone off of that. You get all the exotic notes and a couple extra, right? And so he's already doing these ultra modern things that he's going to be blasting on in the 60s. But they're already here. The register leaps, bobby did, bolly da. They're doing the low notes and then going back up, and the kind of juxtaposition like that. That's already there. He's going to be doing that quite a bit later on. And how about how spare Monk plays on his own solo? He just kind of plays the melody and leaves all this space for the bass player to play. And then that's my favorite bass player with Monk. And with a lot of guys. Wilbur Ware, he's one of the giants of them all. Wilbur Ware. Train talks about how great it was to play with Wilbur in Monk's band. And he says, well, we're not really sure what he's doing back there, but it sure does sound great. Because he kind of very naturally plays all these tritone substitutions that make the music kind of sound eerie as it moves around, as the harmony moves around, and he just kind of adds them all the time, and that's just part of what he does, this kind of chromatic tritone motion thing that he does, and that plunky, wonderful plunky sound, and it swings like a bitch, and it's just great. Wilbur Ware.
Yeah, great tone on that
Yeah.
solo. And
yeah, he's one of my favorites.
And I wasn't, when I was doing my little research for this episode, or for this part 2, I knew the name, but I didn't know anything about him, so I did a quick look at his resume, and pretty impressive who he's played with over his career, and just an excellent musician.
Well, there's funny stories as you get to know these guys, in a sense, in their real story. Wilbur Ware was also, during the day, he would sometimes be the janitor at fucking Prestige Records.
Wow.
Because he needed some money and didn't, jazz wasn't paying a lot in those days, and all the guys had habits to feed, and, it was a pretty thankless thing. We put them on a pedestal now because they're such great musicians, and we love them so much. And how about that? The guy's the janitor. Wow. Breaks your heart.
Yeah.
Breaks your heart.
Yeah, yeah. I'd also like to back to what you were saying earlier about how so many of these musicians were drug addicts and also incarcerated. I mean, again and again, every time I look up anybody's biography of some of these, the rhythm players or the lesser known guys, it's just over and over again was incarcerated for 6 years here,
Yeah.
in and out
Well,
over
it's
here.
the same as it is now, right? It's that the cops are coming after these guys. The
Yeah.
cops are targeting them. The racist fucking white cops are going after these guys.
Yeah.
Surprise,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But the thing about being a janitor broke my heart. You know, it was like, do you remember the story, Keith Richards coming to Chicago to Chess Records? I mean, he's got Muddy Waters on the pedestal like nobody's business, and he shows up at Chess, and Muddy Waters is painting the place.
Wow.
Like painting the place, like wearing painting clothes. Oh my God! What is he getting? Like $2 an hour?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, back to the music. The other thing, is your Coltrane's breaking into a solo, and you're expecting that kind of Red Garland playing all the changes, playing all the chords behind it, and then there's Thelonious Monk just making these little reminders of the melody, da 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 da,
Yeah, he
and not
sets
even
the table
not
though.
playing any kind of the chords, but kind of connecting as Coltrane's just going on his mind-boggling blowing solos. He's there just to kind of reconnect you to the source material. And that's all he needs to do at that point in
He
time.
waits for these moments in the bridge. There's the latter half of the bridge, and he always comes in with exactly the chord that he plays during the melody. Like, all right, just in case you're wondering where you are, bring, 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 and then he lays out again.
It's great, really great.
That's something to bring up right there. Is that the comping, the accompaniment, the comping of the pianists like Monk. That's a lost art form, just like big band is a lost art form, or horn blending is a lost art form. People don't know how to comp anymore, especially guitarists, but also pianists. They just play through everything. Everything. Like, you just played your solo, and then now it's time to accompany the bass solo, and they just keep playing chords. Like, wait a minute, you're supposed to be quiet. And then you're supposed to play a couple of chords based on what the bass player is playing, and that's it. Go for a stroll. They call it going for a stroll, where the piano player goes for a walk. He leaves the stage. Monk's great at that. He doesn't play. He'll comp the first chorus, then he goes for a stroll. He dances around. He doesn't play for two choruses. And then he comes in for his solo. And then he still kind of just plays the melody, lets the bass player plunk away. Now it's a bass solo. Bass player just kind of walks or something, and Monk doesn't play a single note. He waits and head out. Now, using that space and having that makes the whole thing really listenable and sound really great. And that's another lost thing in the music.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think, again, you listen to these tunes and also just the sense of dynamics. I mean, you get such a story when he tells a song like that. There's humor, there's mystery. He's just always got these different elements always swirling along in these songs, and it's playful and delightful to the ear, and then a little strange to the ear, and
it also swings like crazy.
And then it's boogieing, so it doesn't get.
So I picked out the next track because there is no piano on it, and the bass player. I don't know how much he recorded, but I don't know if I have any other recordings of this guy, Earl May. And he sounds great. He's playing all four gut strings, a really dark, kind of frampy, really dark tone. It's really beautiful. And I really like there's a couple of tracks that they play on this. It was released on Lush Life, but it was released on a couple of different records. And but this is the session in August 16th, where Earl May and Art Taylor, the great Art Taylor, the best fast drummer, who, when you want to play fast, you call Art, but he also grooves like crazy on everything else too. He's just one of the jazz giants of all.
All right, so let's listen to John Coltrane playing "I Love You."